So, episode one of the DOA Streets LA conflict is drawing to a close, but I'm sure episode two is getting prepared and it will debut or premiere in just a couple months, or maybe in a couple weeks. But I want to look ahead and ask some semi serious questions because I know Streets is not going to answer me. I'm a very small channel. Please make it a slightly bigger channel by liking and subscribing. But enough shilling. Let's get to the main topic. So, there's just been a back and forth with DOA and Streets LA over the fate of the movement. Right. Now, again, I've been fairly skeptical and critical of DOA, but I'm going to grant him one minor point. And again, it is rhetorical, but I do think it is clarifying because beyond the basic immediate controversies with Jenna Miscavige, Confident Chris, Aaron Smith Levin, what are we doing? What are we talking about? And we'll get more critical with Aaron because Aaron, I think, at this point is doing like zero work. But Streets is definitely putting out this false image that once we get rid of DOA, the movement will return. I promise you, the movement can be brought out and brought back and blah, 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 blah. Well, that presupposes we had a movement in the first place. And what do we mean by movement? I guess we're talking about the LA protests, but anti Scientology as a movement is older than even Streets LA. I mean, it technically begins in the 1950s. So, not really about the anti Scientology movement, even though he's invoking that. So, what am I getting at? Well, let's ask the question bluntly. Now, DOA was asking how many officials has Streets LA put in jail? You saw about the Scientology people. You're right. I mean, the answer is simple. The answer is zero. He has not put in jail any police officer associated with Scientology, any Scientology leader, not even the run of the mill, whatever, parishioners, whatever we're going to call them. So, in terms of Streets being a leader, what has he done? If that's the DOA question, then the answer is he hasn't done anything. But of course, that's, he's kind of manufacturing the question to win the argument. So let's think about this more deeply and broadly. So if Streets regains the position of leadership, presumably, as he says, he will attract more people, it will become more popular again, and the protests will be bigger. Well, what does this mean exactly? I mean, what is he up to? And I'm going to try to bring up two models to contrast this with. And again, the first one, you could say that's a little too sharp a binary. Let's look at somebody, to be brutal, a real quote unquote black social activist leader, social movement leader like Malcolm X. And again, I'm not here to glorify or idolize Malcolm X. He had many problems, many flaws. I will state one up front that he was very anti Semitic. A lot of people have gone back and forth how anti Semitic, but there's no doubt he is anti Semitic. Now, he died as he was evolving, so we don't know if he would have held those views and attitudes later, but by the time of his death, he was a pretty strong anti-Semite, and sometimes for the most bizarre, fantastic reasons, because Malcolm was a bit of a conspiracy theorist, which made sense because he was being hunted down by various people and agencies. But yeah, on that subject, he was pretty much wrong, and he also made some, to put it mildly, really bad decisions. However, looking at the good part of his legacy, again, whether you like him or not, he's definitely inspired people. And the number is hard to calculate, whether it's thousands, tens of thousands. And again, not all good people, not all good activism, but you can't deny some good activism. Again, stress, some good activism has arisen due to Malcolm X. In fact, it's deeply ironic that good or bad, that Streets LA is kind of a product of this because you just would not have this years ago. I mean, years ago, you wouldn't even talk about Malcolm, much less about police brutality, which is what William focused on: police brutality, police corruption. And I was looking up some of the articles before he got into, quote, anti-Scientology, which he never did. He just is yelping up and down like a little girl in Hollywood. But we'll save that for later. So essentially, William was documenting, quote, police abuses, started a few years ago, and he was labeled an activist and documentarian. I found that particularly amusing. Documentarian. He's not a documentarian. He's not a documentary filmmaker. Come on. Let's start being serious. So what are we getting at? Well, good or bad, Malcolm had a massive effect. But why? Because he was a serious radical. He had a radical critique of America, radical critique of global society. Whether that critique was right or wrong, people do pay attention to it, and people at least seek out his interviews and his views because he was serious. William is not. So we know Streets LA is not serious. We know almost nothing he does is serious. So even if he gets what a lot of kids back into the movement, whatever that is, and they hop along with him and Jessica, well, this is not a serious radical thinker. So what is it really going to practically lead to? Presumably more videos mocking Scientologists and making more money mocking Scientologists, and round we go. But on the upscale, what did he actually do? Well, he exposed for the very slow people that the police were very corrupt with Scientology, and he also exposed how, I guess, pervasive Scientology is in the LA area. If you didn't know these things, now you know. I knew these things before Streets LA showed up, so thanks for clarifying the obvious, but at least we know for the record some of the police who are definitely very friendly to Scientology, and that's valuable information. That is about it. So is it either total radical thinker or nothing? No, I think there are middle points, and that's what we're going to get to now with Noam Chomsky, because although years ago I would have idolized Chomsky, I think it's fairly obvious. Yes, he is a radical activist, but what did we get from it? Well, we didn't get exactly what Malcolm did. I mean, good or bad, Malcolm's image and iconography is really hard to avoid. It is very popular, and with Black History Month coming, I'm sure we're going to see a lot of Malcolm X really fast, really soon, with his flaws and all. Chomsky has always been a little bit all over the place in terms of being an activist, being an intellectual. His main contribution has been doing good research that is helpful to activists, but it's not really as an activist that he's mainly known for. He has done it. I mean, he went to jail a few times, so I'm not taking that away from him. I'm just saying his prime contribution is doing research, which is very powerful and very strong. That's kind of the role I see myself. Again, he is also a bit of a media figure, and I think that is the best argument for what Streets LA is doing. It's like, well, he's not really an activist with a capital A. That's not really what he does. He's not much of a thinker. He's not really an intellectual, but he's doing something in between just selling out and being, quote, a real radical like Malcolm X. So is he Noam Chomsky? Well, the answer is no. Again, good or bad, you may not like the contributions, but Chomsky has written a few serious books and a few serious pamphlets on various topics, which I've read almost everything he's written, so they're very powerful and very strong, and he articulates his position, and I've seen him speak in person, and he attracts a massive, and I do mean massive, overflowing audience whenever he speaks. So that's what you get. And so he's able to raise money, he's able to call attention to certain issues, and he's able to focus on certain topics over others because he's a bit of a celebrity. So is he putting officials left and right in jail? No, he doesn't have that kind of power, but he is able to help local causes and even global causes here and there. William is not at that level as far as I can see. I mean, he's just not drawing like hundreds and hundreds of people to his lectures because he doesn't do lectures. And even when he does, quote, activism, it is very cynical and very self-interested. I mean, just months ago, he was still deciding whether he was pro-Palestinian or anti-Palestinian. He literally went down to some of these UCLA protests and was like, well, where exactly are you? Well, I'm trying to figure that out. Literally, he was not even clear where he stood, not because he was deeply pondering, hey, what should we do? Oh my God, no, he was trying to figure out what would make him the most money. What was the most popular stance? That's what he was trying to figure out. And that's what he's still trying to figure out. What will make him the most amount of money? What will get him and generate him the most amount of attention? So looking at this beyond the immediate DOA Streets LA war, where are we going with this? And as far as I can see, we're not going anywhere. In terms of a serious social movement, that's just not what he's up to. That's not what he wants. He just wants more bodies and more people to follow him. And, they're going to traipse up and down like little boys and girls screaming a lot. And that is a thing. I mean, I'm here on YouTube. I'm trying to make money. So I'm not going to shy away from saying I'm somewhat corrupt doing that. But you want to be honest about what you're up to. So William, it seems, just wants more little boys and girls to jump up and down and scream his name and scream at Scientologists. What will that get us? Well, that will get us just people screaming up and down about Scientology and William and being Streets LA fanatic. Okay. I mean, that's fine if that's what, that's the goal, but he keeps promising, I'm ending the Scientologies. Oh, you need me. Oh, no, no, the movement, the movement. I'm not seeing a movement yet or even a serious radical thinker. So is it a Noam Chomsky? I don't think we're even getting that. So we're just getting Streets LA. And he does. He looks good in his sunglasses and he's babbling with Aaron Smith Levin and with Jessica Palmadessa. So it is a bunch of celebrity media figures screaming a lot. What's that going to produce? So far, it hasn't produced much. But hey, maybe William will see the light. He'll wake up and say, "How I was wasting people's time, but now I'm going to be serious." And maybe he will be serious in the future. But right now, yeah, he's just trying to reclaim his celebrity status among some other online YouTube people. But listen, I'm not here to play act being an angel. 2 + 2 = 4, and he is making a lot of money mocking Scientologists. So, hey, maybe I'll do some videos mocking Scientologists. But I'm definitely not going to say. I'm actually going to be honest with you and say, "Wow, you're ending Scientology." It's like, no, we're not ending Scientology. We're just screaming and yelping at Scientologists for money. Is that really going to end Scientology? And hasn't yet. And Streets LA has been this at a couple years, so it's just not a winning strategy if you want to end Scientology. But that's what William is promising. So yeah, so either he's that dumb, he doesn't know his strategy's not working, or yeah, he's just play acting. And the end of the DOA war and him getting kicked out of LA isn't really going to solve too many problems. It's just not. But you know, maybe William will change. Maybe he will become Malcolm X or Chomsky X. But so far on X, Twitter, he just says, I got a dog, I run a lot, and I'm Hollow's son of the Hollow, father of Hollow, whatever. He's just very hollow. He's a very hollow man at the moment, in my humble opinion.